Howdy, it's Ari with Land Insights, and in this video, I'm going to be walking you through how to leverage zip codes to find pools of liquidity. Now, well, what's a pool of liquidity? An area that seems to outshine the surrounding markets, that's really doing well in terms of demand, volume, and even other data points. So this term is likely coined by Clint Turner himself. Maybe some of these other gurus use the term as well, but it's very commonly known in the land investing space. And that's because there are certain markets where folks find themselves in what's called a honey hole. Those honey holes are just producing and producing more leads, more deals, and it all comes from identifying initially that that area is a pool of liquidity, that cash can be made really fast in that market due to the demand and the speed at which that market is turning. So what we'll do is we're going to look at a market just to start. I'm going to look at New Hampshire here, for example. And when we're looking at New Hampshire, again, we've talked about going to the zip level, but before I go to the zip level, there's a couple of things I have to consider. Would I prefer to find a good zip code in a good market or a good zip code in a bad market? I think there's always a case to be made that a good zip code is a good zip code. However, the case is always going to be stronger for a market if it's doubled up in that level of demand, whether it's countywide and then also zip code. So if you do find a good zip code in a good county, I feel like there's more weight behind that choice to market there. Now, if you find a decent zip code, maybe a bad zip code, we tend to avoid that area unless for whatever reason you have ties to that market. You know very well that there's some opportunity there in another fashion. Otherwise, if we find a good zip code in a otherwise bad county, I'll say bad, but really what I mean is a lack of demand is in that county, we may still be able to market there. We may be able to still do deals there. Really what it comes down to is our risk tolerance. If we can't guarantee the entire market is doing well, it's very possible that that zip code is an anomaly, but it's also possible that it's just performing well. And so it's really important to look at the last year and qualify that zip code. Make sure that it's legitimate. Make sure that it's got proof to back your decision to market there. So if we go ahead and look at some of the counties here in New Hampshire, I'm going to go ahead and go to 5 to 100 acres. I'm going to choose 6 months sold just to see where a lot of these comps lie. Seems like the entire state's doing really well, but let's look at Grafton County, for example. If we look at Grafton County, I've done a deal here. This is very beautiful land, but I'm curious, the zip codes are probably going to be fairly large in this county, although I haven't looked myself. First and foremost, what I'm doing is verifying that I like the numbers of this county. I'm verifying, just like every other process in terms of finding a good county, that I like it. I'm going down my tooltip. I'm using those data points on the left-hand side of the tooltip, maybe some other data points if I find them useful for this analysis. But then from there, I'm hopping down to the zip code level, and I'm going to go ahead and even filter for Grafton County just to make it easier on this map visually. And then we're going to go ahead and let's just try and see if we can pick up this market. Oops. Excuse me. So now that we can see all the zip codes, okay, I was kind of off here. There are a ton of zip codes inside of Grafton County, New Hampshire, which is great news, to be honest. Looking at zip codes here, this gives us a lot of room to play. It also segments the market very well so that we know if the comps are very well spread out. And that's the benefit of some of these counties that have a ton of zip codes. Well, for those counties that don't have a lot of zip codes, it is sometimes harder to understand where you want to market, as some of those comps might lie in one part of the zip code still, because it makes up a large part of that county. That's why it's always important to just double check your Redfin, your Zillow comps, just in case, just to make sure you understand where they're appearing. In this particular case, I can actually come in here and see that in 3 months, this particular zip code 03741 seems to be doing well. It moves about 50% every 3 months. The pending sell-through rate is 0. However, with what's happened the past year, it seems like it's pretty consistent in terms of demand. And you'll notice that you can start to find places that move multiple times in a year. So this market, for example, moves twice in a year potentially. Looks like there um, might be some subdivisions here, might be some areas with larger properties. So that's all something you can keep into consideration when you're looking at this map. You can even come down here and use the map visually as a 3D interface or map to understand, is the terrain just out of this world? Is it manageable? What can I do here? Are there a lot of roads? So just get that idea of that zip code. Now, when we're looking at this zip code, another thing I like to do is particularly filter for, or heat map by sell-through rate. I also like to leave all of the zip codes present, usually for my own peace of mind so that I know I'm doing a full review. That means that I'm not adding as many filters, if any, on the data map, the data table down below. And then I'm also coming through and just giving a quick glance to these zip codes to see, is there really anywhere that throws a red flag? You'll notice that a lot of these comps seem to be very spread out. This may be a market that we decide, hey, maybe we just market to the entire county. However, if we are trying to find a pool of liquidity, maybe we're trying to really capitalize on our marketing budget, this may be a situation where I find a zip code that just seems to be outperforming the rest. Uh, this zip code here in particular seems to be moving despite having low numbers or low amounts of comps. From 5 to 100 acres seems to be moving almost 3 times per year. I'd be curious to even go into these smaller ranges, despite there not being a lot of data. So I'll be wary of that. But I'm curious to go to these smaller ranges and just ensure that it kind of holds up. Just looking at 5 to 10 acres, for example, it really does seem to do so. This is an area where it seems to go or turn about 4 to 5 times per year, I would say, depending at any given time, how many active properties there are. So right now there seems to be 3 and 1's pending. So we may see that number increase, that sell-through increase. That's pretty awesome. A lot of these zip codes seem to show similar numbers like this, but you'll notice that there are a lot of blank zip codes that have hardly any data. That is incredibly important to understand, because when we're looking at 5 to 10 acres, if we are mailing by that criteria, then we're going to realize very quickly it's not very smart to target 5 to 10 acres in these counties. It might be the case that there's no 5 to 10 acres in these counties, or excuse me, I meant zip codes both times there. But if there are 5 to 10 acre properties in these zip codes, why the heck would I be marketing to them if there's 0 comps over the past year? Okay, so that's a great way to not only save marketing dollars, but identify places that are really moving well and just target those. This is a great way throughout the entire United States to capitalize on data that nobody else has access to right now, right? So you are really at a competitive advantage here. And as you continue to stack that data in different markets, your list, your marketing list, and your remarketing campaigns, all of that will continue to compound in value over time. So that is capitalizing on zip codes, using them and leveraging them to find pools of liquidity. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at hello@landinsights.co, or you can always reach out to us on the bottom right of the platform.